Well, another person hoping to have a landmark year was the winner of Players' Championship 4, Damon Heta, who you mentioned there. What, though, would represent a successful 2024 season for the Heat Mark II?
Yeah, before I get into the actual darts and the question, shout out to Damon Heta, not just for winning the title, but possibly an early contender for tip of the year, because the day before when Ryan Searle won the title on the Monday, the Redbit 180 on Twitter mentioned that Ryan had won his 5th Pro Tour title. He was in very good company, and he listed some other players that have won 5 Pro Tour titles. Damon Heta chirped up and said, I must not be good company, thinking that he was also on 5, but he was forgetting that his Euro Tour title also counts as part of the Pro Tour. His reply, hopefully in 24 hours time I will be. So his maths is a little off, so we can probably chuck him in for that miscount of the year as well. But a prediction for winning a Pro Tour title the following day, that's pretty impressive, isn't it? A little bit more impressive than me predicting that Peter Wright would bring out his gold Euro 11 darts on the Tuesday. But with Damon Heta, kind of similar to Ryan Searle in some ways. He's been touted to win big silverware in the PDC for a little while, and I'd say Damon is a little bit further ahead than Ryan in terms of that progression. We've seen him win a Euro Tour before he came to the PDC, moved to the UK. We saw him win the World Series. We've also seen him win the World Cup on TV with Australia, with Simon Whitlock. So it does make me smile when some people say Damon can't play on TV. Well, he's got 2 TV titles to his name, a Euro Tour in front of the cameras as well. And his record on the Euro Tour last year in particular, I was just having a look at this before we started. In the 13 events, he played all 13, 5 semi-finals, 4 quarterfinals. So he was in that final session 9 out of the 13 times. And on top of that, 3 quarterfinals in the major ranking events last year. It was another year of solid progress for the Heat, and made a brief appearance in that world's top 10 as well. So how does he follow that up in 2024? Well, a floor title was nice, and I think his goals are a bit like Ryan Searle, a lot higher than that. And the final itself with Chris Dobey 3-0 down, comes back and wins 7 legs on the spin, 4 12 dart legs in a row in there as well. It's world-class darts, and it's not like Chris Dobey fell apart in that final. There was a couple of legs where Chris Dobey was sat on 24 after 12 darts, didn't get a go, sat on 47 after 9 darts, didn't come back to the board, and he also had a few chances in other legs as well. So it's another high-quality final that we've already seen this year. Damon Heta coming out on top, and a successful 2024. I think he's going to want to make that next push in the rankings. He's going to want to get back in that top 10, but then he wants to make that next step. He wants to get in that top 8. And you look at the rankings, Peter Wright, 8th at the moment, the gap around 20 grand. So it's not a lot to make up with the year ahead. So I think we said before on the show about Damon Heta that one day he could be a Premier League player. He's got the walk-ons nailed down, that the game it isn't too far away. And I think if he can crack that top 8, continue to make those deep runs in the majors, maybe a semi-final or a final this season, that's going to represent more progress. And if he keeps putting himself in those positions, he's beaten pretty much all of the big players there is in the game. So whoever he comes up against, that isn't going to faze him. So he's got this title. I think, if he can crack that top 8, have some more deep runs on TV, that will be a good year for him.
Well, that last thing you said is the key, the deep runs on TV, because that's the one thing he really just hasn't done yet, the one World Cup title with Simon Whitlock aside. You know, he's been now to 7 major singles quarterfinals in the PDC, and he's lost a lot. And okay, the first 2 he played very well in. He averaged 98 against James Wade in the 2020 Grand Slam of Darts quarterfinal. He averaged just under 98 against Mervyn King later that year in the Players' Championship final, where King lost out in a last leg in the final to MVG. We'll obviously remember that tournament more for that. But those were 2, fairly good performances, fairly tight matches where he didn't get over the line. But he hasn't matched that in any of the 5 quarterfinals since then. He didn't even break 90 against Danny Noppert in the 2022 UK Open quarterfinal. He averaged 93 against Luke Humphreys the following year in Blackpool, 92 against Rob Cross later that year in Wolverhampton. A better performance against Ryan Joyce in the Players' Championship final. But remember, that was a match that he was well behind early on, and he upped his game to make it look competitive. But Ryan Joyce was never in danger in that match. And then this year in the Masters, against an out-of-form Dimitri Vandenberg, barely cracked 90. We're now talking 5 major quarterfinals in the last just under 2 years, where he's averaged 88, 93, 92, 95, and 90, all of those are below his Pro Tour form. All of those are below what we expect from him in an average match. And that's the question mark. When is he going to bring his best game into the televised tournaments, into the business end of the televised tournaments? Because we know he's good enough. He is a great player. And as you said, the goal is to push on and get into the top 8. And it would not be undeserved for him to be in the top 8 because he very often looks like one of the 8 best players in the world. At one point, he was, I think, last year in the it was last year or the year before, but sometime in the last 2 years, at one point in the Darts Oracle rankings, he was second. That's how good he is when he is playing at his best. And he does that a lot on the floor as well as on the Euro Tour, but he hasn't done it in television. What would represent a successful 2024 season would it be to break through and make his first televised major semifinal. He now has more PDC titles without a major television semifinal than anyone else. He moved ahead of Jamie Caven on that list with that title on Tuesday. But he doesn't want to be on that list. He wants to be a major semifinalist and a major finalist. He's good enough. He should get that. But if that doesn't happen, then it's an unsuccessful year. If it does happen, it's a successful year. Making that next step on television is what would make a successful 2024 season. And I think it's time. It better be time for him because, well, he should be doing it.